it going? I'm Mike Howe. This is going to be the How's It Doing Garage YouTube channel. I've had a ton of people, a ton of friends of mine, a ton of other people that run YouTube channels encourage me to start my own channel and kind of spotlight some of the projects I have going around in my shop. Some of you may know me from a couple other channels, United by Trucks, Pancake Breakfast Club, which I'm still on those. We still do those, but I'm just going to do another little channel for myself just to kind of give you guys some insight into the projects I have going on in my personal shop. And if you don't know, I do run my own personal custom automotive shop. We do a bunch of smorgasbord of custom automotive things. A lot of LS swaps, LT swaps. We're doing a couple Cummins swaps here coming up. Just a whole bunch of stuff. Suspension, chassis work, a lot of stuff, a lot of welding, a lot of welding. But yeah, for the first video we're going to be doing a TCI front coilover suspension on a 66 Fairlane for our good friends over at Auto Metal Direct. They brought me the car. It's just a shell of a car. It's been had a ton of metal replacement and metal work done on it by somebody else, and they brought me the car to do the front suspension kit on it, which I was told was bolt on, but it's not. It's all pretty much weld on kit, but that's fine. That's what we do. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy this first video. Subscribe, throw a comment down below if you guys have any suggestions or words of encouragement. And as always, appreciate you and enjoy this show. So this is the TCI front coilover suspension for the car. It comes with rack and pinion, sway bar. I think according to the instructions, the sway bar is an option if you used to buy this from them. It does come with fully assembled spindles with some Wilwood calipers, drilled slotted rotors. Again, I'm not sure if that's an option when you get the kit. This kit just came to me from Auto Metal Direct. They asked me to install it for them. And since I'm a nice guy and them guys are equally nice guys, I agreed. So most of this stuff you have to locate and weld it all in and everything. Obviously the upper lower control arms bolt in, coilovers bolt in, that kind of stuff. But pretty much everything else you have to like locate and weld it all in. There is quite the in-depth instructions included with the kit. You know, a gazillion pages, pictures and everything. If you don't like reading, it's all in the instructions. But so that's the kit: tubular lower control arm, independent front suspension. Here is the car. As you can tell, it is just a shell of a car. It has had some, I'm guessing, some rust repair done to it. I didn't do any of the rust repair. It came to me exactly how it's sitting right now. The front suspension normally on this car would be located on these frame rails here. As you can kind of tell, somebody has already came in and cut it all off, which is kind of significant because the new kit has instructions on how to locate the new suspension off the parts that are no longer here. So we'll need to figure that out. But I mean, at least it's not all rusty and gross. So yeah, but we have to come in here and cut these aprons out, trim this frame rail down, weld this back together. There's a box piece that goes in here to box the frame rail together, and then there's a piece on the bottom, blah blah blah, whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, so we're gonna get to work. I'm gonna set the camera up, do some time lapse, and yeah, so stay tuned, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we got the car up in the air and we're starting to work on it. One of the things you'll need to do to start getting this front suspension installed on here is, a lot of these have already been removed, but you can see there's some spot welds and stuff on here from the old suspension. And then on the front here, these brackets you'll see that I'll cut off, they're for a sway bar mount. We're going to do another sway bar mount, so we got to remove all this old bracketry out the frame on both sides, clean up the frame, and get everything ready for a cap to go over the frame to strengthen the frame. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. Alright, so we got all those brackets cut off and all the sway bar links are all gone. So now we have a template. So this area right here is all aftermarket sheet metal. This is not original to the car. So this is significant in the fact that normally there would be a shock tower here that you would have to cut off. And then the shock tower is located on here with 6 bolt holes. That also you use those bolt holes to locate your template to cut out around where your upper control arm mount goes. Since this is all aftermarket, naturally we don't have those holes to locate our template to cut this out for our upper control arm mount. So I had to call the dudes at AMD they have a couple extra cars laying around. So they got me the measurements. But what I'm going to do, since the shock tower isn't on this panel, when you take the shock tower out, there is a big gaping hole here that you in turn use the template, you bolt it on to cover that hole. So since we don't have that gaping hole in here, I'm going to leave all of this there and just cut out the amount I need for the upper control arm mount. So that way we don't have to use the template on here. We'll already have this piece, so this will be more appealing to the eye since this is a structural component of the car. So this apron in combination with this upper brace here is what holds the front of this car together. So if we start whacking a big giant hole in it, it's just going to compromise the structural integrity of the car. Hence why you have to bolt that template back on here to put the structural integrity back in the front of the car. Since we don't have the hole, we don't have to worry about using the template. We'll just have to be diligent and make sure that we make a nice clean cut for our upper control arm mount to go. Okay guys, so I think I'm gonna be done for today. We put a good few hours in on this project. A lot more to go, tons of welding and fitting and stuff like that, but here's where we ended up. So I've got both of the clearance holes cut out for the upper shock towers. You'll notice that on the frame rails where I ground all those spot welds off, I did come through and etch prime it. Even though we're going to cover it back up with the panel, I just wanted to make sure that this bare metal was covered underneath there. This outside seam here, and the instructions, it shows you cutting this pinch off and then coming back in here, pinching it together and welding it up and then cleaning it off, because there's like a channel that goes over the inside and the top, and then there's a channel that goes over the outside, and then there's a piece that goes on the bottom. So all of this is going to be plated back in, so we'll have to come back in here and clean all this off. But you need to clean this off so your spring perch or your upper control arm and spring mount have a nice flush spot to sit. So tomorrow first thing, we'll come in here, pinch this all together, weld this all up, clean it back off, fit the panel that goes on here, grind off any paint where we need to get, weld them on, weld the inside panel on, the bottom panel on, and then get cross member in, shocks in, and carry on. Hi guys, welcome back. So today's a new day. Back working on the Fairlane. So we've got some progress. This section of frame here had a pinch weld. We had to cut it off, box it, square the frame back up, and then weld that seam back up and grind it off flush, because as you can see on the other side, there is a panel that goes over the frame on the inside, outside, and bottom. So I took those panels and I primed the back side of them, so that way when you weld them on, they're at least primered on the inside, so they're not going to rust, you know, all the way through. There'll be a little bit of affected area where you weld, but you know, sucks, but what are you going to do? So I'm going to get the inside panel fit, get the outside panel fit, square them up with each other, and then tack them into place, and get the bottom panel fit, tack it into place, double check the squareness of everything. That's really crucial, just making sure everything's square, so when you put your upper control arm and shock mounts on here, that they're correct. So alright, so I've gotten it all welded up and cleaned off. Like this area here, you gotta clean this back off, because the upper controller member goes here, and then the cross member is going to go in here. But I just wanted to point out one thing real quick. You'll notice in some of the video where I have a respirator on. So whenever you're working on specifically automotive sheet metal, this car, much like every other car, is galvanized. So all of the sheet metal on this car is galvanized, and it's not new galvanizing either. This is the old stuff, the real stuff from back in the day. So you always want to wear a respirator anytime you're doing a lot of grinding or welding on automotive sheet metal, because galvanizing is zinc. It's basically a zinc diode that they put on the metal, and the zinc will sacrifice itself to the elements, and the base metal will stay. The zinc will turn white and chalky and disappear before the metal actually rust. So what happens is, if you're grinding it or welding it or whatever, that stuff gets in the air, then you breathe it in, you get this crap called heavy metal poisoning. And what it is basically the zinc gets in your bloodstream and makes your blood really, really heavy. And you'll notice it starts with a headache, or you'll get like flu-like symptoms. And it won't happen right away. It'll be a couple hours later. You'll be sitting down watching TV or whatever, and you're like, man, I feel sick. My whole body aches or whatever. I got a headache, whatever. You were exposed to zinc. And there's another thing called the heavy metal disease where you become allergic to it. So anytime you touch anything with zinc, anything that's been galvanized or anything like that, like, you don't even have to like ingest it. You just get this allergy to it, and it like screws your whole body up anytime you come in contact with any heavy metal. But anyway, this is a long rant or whatever. I just want to tell you, be safe when you're grinding on automotive sheet metal. Watch out for the galvanizing. Wear a little respirator. I wear a little Miller welding respirator. It fits under my welding helmet. I think they're like $30 on Amazon. You know, anytime you're grinding, sanding, welding, I just put it on, especially when I'm doing automotive stuff. So yeah. We had a little issue. I had some company. Lost track of time. And GoPro battery died. So, update. We have... This is pretty much just like bolt on from here. So, the instructions are pretty clear. We've got the upper control arm, coilover mount welded in. Everything's welded in. You will notice I did end up having to cut more of this out, even though I didn't want to. I tried to cut as little bit of out as I could, but I didn't take into account that you have to slide the upper control arm over to get it on. So I had to cut more of this out to get the upper control arm over the mount. So, but from here on out, it's pretty much self-explanatory. Nuts and bolts, it only goes together one way. The instructions are pretty clear. I've got the suspension all on here. I'm gonna put the rack on. I'll probably just, it comes with motor mounts, so they're not putting a motor in it, but I'll just put them on there for funsies. But yeah, so I'm gonna commence the project. All right, dude, so we're all done with this. We don't have wheels. They forgot to bring me wheels when they brought me the car. And the rear suspension is just the factory leaf spring rear suspension, which they didn't bring me shackles for. So they actually had to mail me shackles. I'm not sure when they're supposed to be in, but this pretty much wraps up the front coilover tubular suspension from TCI, rack and pinion steering, big sway bar, drill and slotted rotors, Wilwood calipers, on this 66 Fairlane. Is it bolt-on like AMD told me? Absolutely not. The first 8 hours of the whole ordeal was grinding, cutting, welding, and it is a mess. I couldn't imagine doing this on the floor of my garage. But the kit itself is pretty good. It's pretty solid. Craftsmanship on it's pretty great. As far as the science of the suspension and all that, I don't know. But everything fit, just like the instructions showed. You did what the instructions said. Everything went together. It looks really nice. The quality of the parts are good. Yeah. So now this car is going to leave here, and it's going to go over to American Resto Mods over in Buford, and they're going to, I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do, but I think they're going to paint the car, paint everything we just did, and I would imagine they're going to do something with the rear suspension. I don't know. But this pretty much wraps up my involvement in this hot rod. So thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll be bringing you some more content like this hopefully once a week. So yeah, catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.